Good afternoon. I'm Amanda Brock. I'm the CEO at Open UK, and it's a great pleasure to welcome you along to the 9th episode of State of Open Subset. This is the final episode in the series, or the spring series, in 2023. We'll be back in the autumn with a further series. Today it's a delight to invite Paula Kennedy, who is the co-founder and chief operating officer at Syntasso, to join us. Paula is one of these people who is involved in organising so many different things that I'm sure she'll explain that herself, but there's almost too many to mention. And I'm so pleased to tell you that she's also an Open UK ambassador. We have the most incredible team of ambassadors at Open UK who help us spread the word and support the work that Open UK does. And Paula's very active in her role as an ambassador. And today, Paula's going to talk to you about the ins and outs of delivering your internal platform as a product. Paula, over to you.
Great, thanks Amanda. I'm really excited to be presenting today on the topic of the ins and outs of delivering your platform as a product. I was actually supposed to give this talk as part of the platform engineering track at the State of Open UK conference in February, but unfortunately I broke my wrist ice skating and couldn't make it. So luckily I get the chance now to record it today. So anyone who's seen me speaking before, you will know that I have a lot to say about platforms. It's a topic I'm very passionate about. But for the talk today, I wanted to get back to basics a little bit and try to explain why I am such a firm believer in platform as a product. So these are the high levels I'm going to be covering in this talk. I'm going to do a really quick introduction, and then I'm going to be talking about the ins, so some internal questions that you might be dealing with, such as why do we need a platform, or who should be in the platform team. I'm going to talk about some external kind of outs, external questions that you as a platform team might be having to deal with, such as who are you building the platform for, how could you work with those external people, and how do you make sure the platform is going to be adopted. And then I'm going to explore if we can bring these kind of ins and outs together by covering the ideas around platform as a product. And then I'm going to hopefully think about some questions for the audience to think about, and also we'll hopefully be having some discussion at the end of this session where I'll be available to answer questions. So let's get started. Brief introduction about me. My name is Paula Kennedy. I am the co-founder and COO of a company called Syntasso. Our mission at Syntasso is to make platform teams thrive. And to do this, we've created a framework called Kratix, which is an open source framework, aims to make life just a little bit easier for platform engineers who are trying to build a platform to meet their developers' needs. You can take a look at the code. It's completely open source, and there's an online workshop available that will walk you through it. So we'd love it if you wanted to take a look and give us some feedback. Me personally, I've worked in tech for more than 20 years. I've spent the last 10 years really with a very strong platform focus, most recently working at Pivotal and then part of VMware, working with customers who are running large internal developer platforms. So let's get into the talk. Part one, the ins, or the internal challenges. So what do I actually mean by this? These are some questions that you might hear, or you might even have yourself. What is a platform and why do I need one? Who should be in the platform team? And where to start? So you might be part of an organization that already has a platform team, or you might be just considering creating an internal developer platform. So you might have heard some of these questions and be curious about the answers. Or it could be that you're, like I say, part of a platform team, you're trying to think about some of these things. But let's level set. Here are some thoughts that I have to answer some of these questions. So platform is one of those words that gets used a lot. It's a bit overloaded. It has lots of different meanings to different people. If you ask 10 people what a platform is, you probably get 10 different answers. So my go-to definition for platform has always been this one from Evan Bottcher. A digital platform is a foundation of self-service APIs, tools, services, knowledge, and support, arranged as a compelling internal product. Autonomous delivery teams can make use of the platform to deliver product features at a higher pace with reduced coordination. It's quite long and there's a lot of words there, but there's a couple of key things I really like about this definition. One, it doesn't mention any specific technology. The main thing is that the platform should have a self-service interface or API so that people can use it. At Syntasso, we're big fans of Kubernetes, but a platform doesn't have to be Kubernetes. It can be something really simple, just something basic. The second point about this definition is it mentions teams using the platform. So we can understand that if you're a small organization with only maybe 1 or 2 teams, it might be that you don't yet need an internal platform product. It's more likely that it's something that you need as you grow in size. Now, as for why you need one, Evan's definition mentions that teams can deliver features faster with reduced coordination. So basically, get your software out to your customers faster. Now, to dig into this a bit more, we should make reference to one of my favorite books, Team Topologies. So this is a photograph of my copy of the book. Anyone who's not read it, I would strongly recommend it. Team Topologies really dives into how to organize teams to achieve that higher pace of kind of flow of value across the business. I'm not going to go into much detail here because the book is well worth a read. You can also find lots of talks from the authors, Matthew and Manuel. And also, if you're interested, there is a conference that I helped organize last month, which was called Fast Flow Conf. And it was a conference entirely based on the concepts around team topologies. I'll put a link at the end for you where you can find the details, but all of the talks from last month's event are all available on YouTube. The thing I do want to just mention very briefly is how team topologies suggests different team types. You can see that they advocate for having a platform team, or as Matthew mentioned recently, more like probably a group of teams. You might have more than one platform team, but you have platform teams whose role it is to basically enable the stream-aligned teams or application teams to be able to deliver value faster. That's one of the core tenets of the book. So hopefully you're with me so far that when your organization gets to a certain scale, you've got, multiple teams, then you are trying to focus on getting value out into the hands of your customers faster. And you realize that to support these stream-aligned or application teams, you need to have a platform that can, remove some of the concerns. So who should be in that platform team? One question I've heard often is, when we're having a platform team, does that mean we're going back to the old style of working where we've got dev and ops separate? To which I would say a very strong no. When I think about who should be in the platform team, I like to take the 2016 Google definition of what SRE means, where they talk about software engineers designing ops. And I like to have a hot take of platform engineering is what happens when you scale DevOps. So it's not about separating dev and ops. It's about creating autonomous teams, as Evan Botcher describes them. Or in other words, it's about having DevOps all the way down. If I draw this little diagram, what you can see is where we previously had dev and ops separately, we had quite a lot of problems where devs would write code, they'd throw it over the wall, ops would try to run it, but they hadn't written the code, so they couldn't figure out what was going on. Lots of silos, poor communication, etc. We've seen the DevOps movement come along and try to bring these teams together. But what's happened is we've ended up with teams trying to manage everything themselves. Teams are trying to do dev and ops at application level, at platform level, which means that you've got teams who are trying to do a whole bunch of stuff, which means massive cognitive load, massive duplication across teams. And so also not ideal. Where platform engineering is now coming in is the evolution of this, or like I say, where I think about it is like DevOps at scale, so that you've got application teams are doing their own dev and ops. They are writing the code and they are running it, but they're doing so using tooling that's being provided by the platform team. And the platform team itself is doing dev and ops because they are building the platform, which probably involves writing some code of their own, and they're running the platform. So it's a way of basically scaling dev and ops and scaling DevOps as a concept and allowing application teams to go faster by being serviced by the platform team who's giving the application teams what they need. So this leads on to the question of where to start. Once you've understood that you need a platform and you've got some folks who are forming the platform team, they need to start with doing some actual dev and ops. Now, your starting point would depend on your context. Depends what's already in place. Where are the gaps? What skills your team currently has? Do you have defined engineering practices such as extreme programming? You're going to be, each organization is starting with their own context. You might want to start with something small. Maybe you've already got a big platform in place and you're trying to trim it back. But what you really want to try and do is avoid the kind of field of dreams process where if you build something and you just assume people are going to come, they might not, right? Which leads us on to part 2, which is kind of the external considerations. So external, basically, you should recognize at this point that when you're building a platform, you're not just building it for yourselves, you're building the platform for people outside of your platform team who are going to be using the platform. So because those folks are kind of external to your team, there are some external questions that you need to address. Here's some questions that you might be thinking about. Who's going to use the platform? How will we know if that platform is meeting their needs? And how do we even get people to start using it? So let's start with who's going to use the platform. If we refer back to the Evan Bottcher definition, he mentioned autonomous delivery teams. And in team topology's language, they describe users as stream-aligned teams, but you might refer to them as product teams or application teams. And if you're the team that is building the platform, a really good starting point to kind of ask yourself who will be using it is identify who those teams are and then maybe go and talk to them, right? You could identify some of those actual people, you could go talk to them. Once you've identified some real platform users, you might want to consider how are you going to know if the platform is working for them, if it actually meets their needs. If you're working from a backlog of work or a ticket system, do you know like who each ticket is helping? Do you know how it's going to help? Are people asking for something that you're just going to implement, or are you going to be questioning kind of why they need it? Is it actually the right thing? Do you have a process in place for getting feedback? Do you have metrics in place that show how your work on the platform connects to the features that are being released on the applications? Do you know if your work is being prioritized kind of according to the needs of the business, or is your work just being prioritized on whoever's shouting loudest? And one more question to consider, which I've heard a lot, is how do we get people to use it? If you build a platform and no one uses it, is it really a platform? How much shadow IT is happening and wasting money for your business? How many teams are circumventing policies and procedures that you've put in place and putting your organization at potential risk? So, just to recap some of the ins and outs or things to think about, we've covered that an internal platform needs to offer self-service interface to users to drive flow of value across the business. It enables DevOps at scale, and to build it, we need to understand internal context, such as business needs, current skills in the team, etc. On the external or the outs, we need to understand who the users are. We need to have a way to measure that the platform is doing what those users need. And we need to make sure that the platform is actually being used, or else what's the point? So this is where we get to the best bit. Platform as a product and how it can help. Now, I've played around quite a lot in the last couple of years, let's say, of trying to define what platform as a product actually means and come up with something like a snappy definition. And so here's my latest effort. Basically, for me, platform as a product just means applying a product mindset to your platform. Not complicated. So I'm going to dive into that. Let's try applying a product mindset to some of the questions we've covered so far and look at what impact that might have. If we go back to the question of what is a platform, Evan Bottcher specifically mentioned that the platform needs to be compelling. So in this way, it's like any other product that you might be offering externally to your customers. You need your customers to want to use the platform, and so it needs to be compelling. If you try to mandate your way into people using it and you force people and say this is the only way to get your code deployed, it significantly increases the risk that people will find a way around it and they'll use shadow IT and they'll get the credit cards out. And so what you want is an experience that developers want to use, right? We mentioned previously that you need to have in your platform team, you need to have some dev and ops skills. But if we're thinking like a product team and we need to make our platform compelling, there are probably other roles that we need to add into this. Having a platform product manager is a really good idea. They can do so many things, such as defining a product strategy, managing the feature backlog with data-driven decisions, validating assumptions. You might also, and getting feedback from the actual users of your platform. You might also want to consider adding a designer to the team. If you're practicing user-centered design for your external facing customer products, why not do the same internally? You want to make sure that this experience for your developers is delightful and that they enjoy using your platform. And this expanded platform product team can also help answer the question on where to start. If the platform team is working like other product teams, they might follow an agile process of build, measure, learn. So the platform team can be building some feature on the platform, seeking fast feedback from the users of the platform, learning what's working and not working, and building some more. It can be a very agile process that's applied to the platform itself. The platform team could also be following similar engineering patterns, whether that's extreme programming, test-driven development, etc. It's really about not thinking about the platform as something different and thinking about the platform as any other kind of software product that is being offered. And when you're treating your platform as a product, it can also impact how we think about those external concerns or those outs as well. So who's going to use the platform? This is where having those additional roles in that platform team can really help. A platform product manager can help provide a more holistic view of the platform and consider other areas such as security or compliance. They can help manage those stakeholders. They can go talk to them, make sure they're included. And it's particularly helpful where you have an issue internally, an application team's trying to deploy some code, and then at the last minute it gets blocked because security concerns or compliance haven't been met. By incorporating those concerns earlier within the platform team and ensuring that the platform meets those requirements, it means that the application developers can actually go faster. I mentioned already about talking to the users, but user research is really critical for understanding the user needs. And then when you're applying this kind of product management skill set to your platform, this is really where it's going to be very beneficial. So what you might want to try is kind of a journey mapping exercise with the application team. You could bring some folks in from the application team. You could work out what's the process from idea to shipping to production and look at all the steps along the way. Where is time being wasted? Where are application teams getting blocked? What are the bottlenecks? You could then work together to try to speed up some of those blockers. You could consider doing some usability tests with your developers. So you might, as a platform team, want to actually run some surveys. You might also want to go and sit with one of the application teams, do a person swap where someone from an application team comes and joins the platform team, and somebody from the platform team goes to the application team, and watch people using the platform. It's amazing what you'll actually observe when you see people using the thing that you've built, and it will be very different from the feedback that they might remember to tell you about versus when you see someone actually using it. Another thing that Team Topologies references is about ongoing lightweight collaboration, which is essential, right? It's not, when you're building your platform, it's not once and done. What you want to make sure is that the platform is evolving to meet the user needs. And as the needs change or new technology gets kind of included into the stack, you want to be able to incorporate it and keep that platform. We call it kind of like a floating platform. You want to be able to make sure that the platform is continuously serving the needs of your teams and is keeping up to date and is developing the features that the teams need. And last but not least, we've talked about the platform being a compelling product, right? It shouldn't be mandated from on high that thou shalt use the platform. It should be that people want to use it. There's a couple of ways we can do this. One great way I've seen is marketing the platform. So that might be giving it a cool name and a logo, and then creating, stickers and swag and encouraging teams to be excited about using this platform. It could be going out to the application team, doing lunch and learns and showing them the value of the platform. You want to be kind of getting champions external to your team who've used it, who've got great stories to tell, who can then go out and share those stories with other teams to really try and drive adoption. Depending on the scale of your organization, you might have a developer advocate for your platform who does the same role internally that a developer advocate might do externally. They go around, they talk to users, they gather feedback, they also evangelize your platform and describe how well it works. The key to this is really providing a delightful user experience. People should love using the platform. They shouldn't be tempted to want to go and do something else. One way we think about this is using the kind of the analogy of like building golden paths, which we hear a lot. It's kind of come from Spotify, but it's a way of making it easy for your developers to do the right thing. You want to make sure that if somebody's trying to deploy a particular application, that they can use your platform. And by using your platform, they know that the things they deploy are supported, that they've got the necessary security scanning or compliance requirements kind of built in. So you're making it easy for developers to do the right thing because they're following the path that you've set out for them. It reduces their cognitive load. They don't have to worry about certain things because the platform will take care of them. And it means that they can go faster. So, to summarize, I'd like to actually invert the order from my original agenda. When you're thinking about your internal platform, you want to really put platform as a product thinking first. You want to think about who's going to use it, how are you going to gather their feedback, and can you apply a product mindset to your internal platform? You need to think about those external concerns, the users, how are we going to make them adopt it? How are we going to make sure that it continues to meet their needs, kind of that feedback cycle? And finally, we want to make sure that our internal team, the team that is working on that platform, has the skills that they need. Maybe that includes product management and design, and you want to make sure you've got people that can write code and kind of develop the platform as well as run the platform. And one thing I've seen a lot, which makes me very sad, is that platform teams typically have been underinvested in. And the value that a platform can add to an organization is so huge. It's such a force multiplier that by investing in the platform team with the skills and the tools that they need, that can multiply kind of the whole organization. It can drive much faster value of flowing across the business. I mentioned that I would put together a few links. So here's just a short list of some of the things I've referenced in my talk today. There's the definition from Evan Botcher, and as I mentioned, there's the link to Fastflow Conf, which if you go to that website, you'll see a link to all of the videos that were recorded from the session last month. There's some really fantastic content on there that I'd recommend. I'm going to be here to answer some questions, or if you want to reach out, you can connect with me on LinkedIn or on Twitter. I'd really love to hear what other people are thinking about platform engineering and platform as a product. And so with that, I would like to just say thank you very much.
Thanks, Paula. That was a great final talk for this series of State of Open Subset. I really appreciate your time today and the time that everybody has committed to putting these digital talks together as a follow-on to State of OpenCon. Our CFP process, the call for papers for State of OpenCon, will be open very shortly, and you'll be able to find more information about it on stateofopencon.com. You'll also find on openuk.uk and across our OpenUK social media. Look out for us on OpenUK_UK on Twitter. Look out for us on Mastodon and LinkedIn. And you'll see announcements that I hope will have a lot of traction, letting you know what the different tracks are going to be for 2024 and what the timing of that CFP process will be. And I very much hope you'll be inspired by the subset talks, those of you who are accessing those talks internationally in particular, to come and join us in State of OpenCon, SUCON 24. If you're interested, you'll find episode 10 of Subset is going to be released on September 19th at 3 p.m. And we're looking forward to Anita Ilhuman, who is a developer advocate and technical writer at the Chaos Project, coming to talk to us. And she's going to talk to us about open source DAI, about transitioning from intentions to impact and DEI in open source. And we're really looking forward to that. Anita should have been with us at State of OpenCon 23, was unable to travel. And I very much hope she's going to be part of this year's CFP process and that we'll see her as one of the speakers in January, February. So all that remains for me to do is to wrap up this first season of State of Open Subset and to thank you all for attending. And of course, you'll find past episodes on our YouTube channel. Have a good summer.